Welcome to the Back Nine Six Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll.
Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Back Nine Six Pack. My name is Mitch, joined as always by my esteemed colleague Justin. Absolute banner day for you yesterday.
Fuck yes it was. Hey, why not us? That goes for both things, by the way.
Look, the Bengals already did that a couple years ago, right? Packers can't be adopting that.
Well, we're adopting it because that's what Jay said.
Okay.
Before Grayson just absolutely buried Keegan and Ben on in a playoff. Why not us? That goes for the Packers and us.
Yeah.
Why not us?
Just in general, why not us?
I fucking love that.
Unbelievable.
It was a banner. It was a banner 4 hours for me. Just in general, just like happy for my friend Jay getting, it was like the Packers just dominated the Cowboys. Just total, utter domination. And then to get literally an hour afterwards, watch, a friend, get his first PGA Tour win on the bag it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, just in case anybody out there missed it, Grayson Murray won the Sony Open in a playoff, just made an epic 39-footer to bury Keegan and Ben on, as we mentioned. Jay on the bag, we mentioned last week. First start, carrying for our guy there, and first win.
What's crazy, too, is he did not get off to a good start.
No.
He was like 80th or something like that in the first 6 holes, and then the rest is history. I mean, he kind of turned it on after that, on the back nine of the first day. Then Friday was a good day. Shoots 63 on Saturday, and then, pretty flawless 67 yesterday. Just got barely enough to get in the playoff, and then, winning in the playoff. But yeah, it was a good day yesterday. Really had me questioning dry January. As I was sitting there watching the Packers just lay it on the Cowboys, and then, wanting to have a celebratory beer after the golf tournament had me really, really questioning if day 14 was going to be the end of it. So
yeah, and then as the whole Jay Grayson thing is going down, you and I are trying to scramble the jets. We're like, oh my god, what do we do on social? Do we have any clips from the interview with Jay? Which, if you haven't listened yet, go back to episode 7 and give that a listen with Jay's interview.
Yeah.
That was from last May, probably.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we posted a clip from that, a quick 30-second clip where he was talking about, I asked him a question, does he approach the game more analytically or, more of just be an athlete perspective? And he gave a great answer about in competition, I think you just really got to be an athlete. And sure enough, we get out there and you hear the reports on the ground from, shout out Todd Lewis with the nugget after about, Jay mentioning to him, show me something on the 18th or the 72nd hole of the tournament. When he has to make birdie to force the playoff, gets it done, hits a nice wedge from...
It was 87 yards or something like that.
And
honestly, that pin was nasty. I mean, trying to get it close from anywhere was difficult. He just threw an absolute dart. Just an absolute dart from 87 yards.
Yeah, and then we get into the playoff. And, great job by the PGA Tour with some of the video they posted, last night and today.
They're so much better at it now than they used to be. Oh, my goodness.
There was 4 different angles of the putt in the playoff that were all awesome. And elite caddy player, high five.
That's why
likes of which we've never seen.
That's why I texted him. I sent you my screenshot from his text. I was like, by the way, awesome high five. Just makes up for all the Tiger and Stevie whiffs.
Yeah, we've seen so many bad ones over the years.
Those are just off the top. The ones they've had have been bad, but I'm sure there's other ones out there that have been bad. And I think he responded it was pretty solid high five.
Yeah, you gotta connect on those, and that was great to see. And then we had after the fact, they interviewed Jay, and he talked about having seen Sam Stevens have the same putt that Grayson had in regulation, and he had the read. Yeah. And he said a lot of guys, overread that, the last bit of it. They think it keeps going right, but no, it stays straight.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool video that the PGA Tour did. Oh. They interviewed Jay, and they talked about that putt and how he'd seen it before, literally right before. Stevens kind of backtracked that day. I think he shot 3 or 4 over. So his putt didn't really mean much, but it gave him a read for the playoff, which is
unbelievable,
just crazy. I mean, and if you remember, I know we all remember the 4-footer Ben on missed, but Keegan had a similar angle. I say similar. It wasn't the exact same angle, but closer, and he missed it out to the left.
Yeah, missed it on the high side.
Yeah. So, It's crazy what, goes into caddy, and I don't think a lot of people realize it, but the really good ones pick stuff up like that, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's tremendous. Like,
just amazing.
For Jay, like, to have the presence of mind in that moment with everything going on to, like, actually have a look at Sam Stevens' putt.
Yeah.
Just in case. Like, crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I posted it last night too about, a big part of caddying, and I got this was a takeaway I had from our interview with Jay last May, was like knowing what to say and how to say it to a player in a given moment.
And when to say it, right?
When to say it too, yeah. Sometimes it's silent is what you need, but like clearly him and Grayson have a good chemistry, and he felt like he could, tell him, hey, go show me something. And it would impact him positively. So
yeah, and that wasn't his first time on Grayson's bag. I think he's filled in a couple times, but it seemed they've had a prior relationship. But man, what was cool too is as a player, when you hear a player talk about their support system, and truly a caddy is a big part of that support system, right, on and off the course. I hope I've not talked to Jay about, like, is he on the bag? Is Grayson even playing this week at the Amex? Sometimes you see guys win, and just the they do a lot of media, right? Like, I mean, you see all the media they released today and last night. They do a lot of media, specifically the player. So a lot of times those guys take the next week off of just from pure like exhaustion. But I haven't asked him if he's going to be back on the bag, but I think, man, their chemistry seemed really good. And Saturday I was watching, and they were listening into their conversation, which was kind of cool. I think it was like from like 14 fairway. It's kind of cool to see how they think through a shot and stuff like that. So, but I hope he's back on the bag.
I mean, when I was messaging with him, he made it seem like it was for the year.
Yeah,
so
you would hope so.
Especially after a win, I'm pretty sure he's got a spot for a while now.
Yeah, but it's funny. So I thought what was really, I'm not going to backtrack Grayson's story because a lot of people did that with Chris Kirk last week. Like, look, we all got problems. Everybody's got problems, right? Everybody's got a past. He's dealing with his issues just like Chris Kirk dealt with his issues. But what I thought was funny, do you remember the story that came out last year? It was at the Canadian Open. They had that players meeting.
Yeah, I know you're going.
And so in that meeting, one of the stories that came out was Grayson stood up and pretty much called, Jay Monahan a liar. Like, oh, you've lied to our faces and all this. And Rory turned around and said, play better, Grayson. And then Grayson told him to fuck off. And, since that meeting, like I saw, it was like he's won 3 times. He's got like 5 top 10s. 2 of them were in PGA Tour events after that. So he's starting to play better. So shout out to Rory for maybe giving us some fuel for this moment that we got on Sunday. But yeah, it's just a great Sunday watching that.
It's unbelievable. I really couldn't be happier for Jay. It's so crazy, this stupid thing we decided to do not even a year ago. And, Jay's a friend of yours, so we reached out to him to like, hey, it'd be really cool. Let's get a caddy on here. And, you're whatever. It's a connection you have. You don't think much of it. Not even 9 months later, he's a freaking winner on the PGA Tour.
Just crazy.
Like what
stuff?
I don't even know what life is sometimes when stuff like that happens.
No, it's just so, and it's for him. And, since that interview, we've tracked him. He was with Kevin, and, Kevin didn't have the best year last year. So, like, he's not getting paid that much, right? Like,
right.
Kevin made some cuts, but, like, I think his best finish was the John Deere. I think he finished like 25th or something like that. And that's a smaller pot. So you're like, he's doing a lot of this job for not a lot of money some weeks, and some weeks just none at all. And to watch him he got paid yesterday for a guy. That's what I'm really happy for him about.
Yeah,
that's a
amazing.
Good payday.
And honestly, like timing's everything too. And, if Grayson, he's figured some stuff out that had given him it was never a question of his talent. The guy mashes the ball.
Yeah. And
that plays on the PGA Tour.
Yep.
He had won, 7-8 years ago. It's not like he's, not a talent. He's on a good bag. And if this continues to, Grayson has his life together maybe, and they continue to have this partnership, who knows? I mean.
Yeah, it could be. Shit,
they're going to Augusta this year. What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, he's in every signature event now. That gets him in all the big money tournaments. That gets him into the PGA Championship. It got him. He wasn't previously qualified for the Players, and now he's in the Players. I mean, I think it probably gets him close just because of world rankings. It probably gets him close to be qualified for the Open. It gets him. I mean, it's a winning a tournament like that. I mean, he won the Barbasol. What was it, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that?
I feel like it's been a while.
It might have been. No, it was 2018, so it was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, winning an event like that's not like an opposite field event. It's a career changer. I mean, you almost become exempt for next year and with one win. Because think about it, you're getting in all the signature events. And
I think you get a 2-year exemption with a win.
Yeah,
right?
with a win.
So
yeah,
him doing it now, I mean, it's the earliest part of the season, so he's bumped himself up into these other higher level events and the majors
for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so it's a great time to win if you're going to win.
Yep, exactly. But these signature events, I mean, you start talking like if you play good enough the rest of the year, you're starting to talk like a couple 3-4 year exemptions into the PGA Tour. Like it really is a weight just getting lifted off of your shoulders as a player. I mean, it really, really is. So it's exciting stuff for Grayson and hopefully if Jay stays on the bag for years to come, hopefully for Jay too, because, I think anybody with that talent level that saw that putt previously and then gets that read, I think that probably speaks volume for what he does the rest of the round.
Yeah.
And be hard to, to not have a guy like that on your bag. So...
Yeah, and I mean, hey, we had a blast last year at the Barbasol following Jay around, but it's gonna, like you mentioned in our text thread, it's going to be a lot cooler walking around Memorial, walking around Valhalla for the PGA.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Seeing him do his thing on like the absolute biggest stages of all stages. Yeah. So.
Oh, man, what a Sunday. I was buzzing last night, man.
I was
It's
too.
hard to go to bed.
And I think we bypassed my Packers a little too quickly here.
Sure, I'll give you the floor for some Packers talk.
I mean,
go ahead.
Look, Jordan Love, I feel like my apology still wasn't even enough. The guy's out here throwing no looks. Like, the touchdown pass, his last touchdown pass, if that is Patrick Mahomes, that thing's going to be shown for the next 24 to 48 hours nonstop on every. I mean, it was just the throws he made yesterday, and dude, how does that not just like for the Packers, firing Mike McCarthy, right, and bringing on MLF, and just how does that not just validate everything you've done over the pretty much not even just the last year, like letting it was 11 starters walk last year. Mm-hmm. And also cutting Mike McCarthy 4 or 5 years ago or whatever it was at this point. That is just an ultimate validation of everything they've done. And I questioned it. I did as a fan. I thought I was going into this year and I was just like, you know what? If they can get to 7 wins, I feel like it's going to be a success. And now 9 wins plus a playoff win. I mean, they're going into a really tough game this weekend at San Francisco just because San Francisco at home is almost unbeatable. I mean, they did get beat there twice this year, but yeah, we'll see. They're hot. I would tell you this, and I've been in this situation as a Packers fan, being the 1 seed. It's just something about those teams that just get on that run late in the season. And you've clinched and your starters have been playing spotty minutes just because they don't have to play. And then you got this team that's had to win games coming in, and then they win a playoff game, and they're just coming in hot. Those teams are dangerous. Heck, the 49ers 2 years ago against the Packers. It was the same way. Barely scraping the playoffs, just got hot at the right time, come in, beat the Packers on their home field in the playoffs. It just happens. You see it almost every year in the NFL. Just one of those teams that scrape by, get in the playoffs, get hot, somehow make it to the AFC, NFC championship game. Bengals were one of those. The Bengals were that team, 2 years ago. It's just kind of crazy. We'll see. We'll see. See on Saturday night. They're at Saturday night at 8:00. So
this has been such a wild ride. If I just think about the Packers run during us doing this podcast, our second episode, you had to write an obituary for Aaron Rodgers, basically. We come on here, the Jordan Love thing, you basically like trash the organization. You wanted Matt LaFleur fired. We
were going through the draft to see who they passed up to draft him.
Yeah, absolute. Like you were ready to just cut and fire everybody. Then all of a sudden they go on this heater run. They're beating this Cowboys team. They put up 48 points yesterday on a team that like was rolling people at home all season long.
And defensively at home, they've been almost not unscored. Not like you could score. I was thinking going in, I was like, okay, if we can score 27 points, we're going to have a chance. But that is a tall task against that defense at home. Yeah. Micah Parsons is incredible. And they've got their secondary is pretty incredible too. Like they've got some guys, they got some dudes on the back end. And I was like, if we can score 27 and our defense just puts together an okay game, we have a chance. And then we get to halftime, we're at 27. And I told the people I was watching the game, I was like, I thought 27 the whole entire game, we'd be good. I was like, I'm feeling pretty good about this right now. And look, I think I sent this the first game of the season. They played really well against the Bears. It is the Bears, but I said Matt LaFleur's offense. Mike LaFleur's his brother.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur's offense without Aaron Rodgers, and I sent the GIF of the one from Step Brothers where like so many activities.
Yeah.
Like it truly is. Look, Matt came from that Shanahan. This is a system.
Yeah,
we can plug people in this system for the most part, and it can be a successful system. When you have a quarterback that just goes, yeah, I see your system. I'll do it sometimes, but not all the time. You can now kind of see why they struggled last year with Aaron Rodgers. And really, other than the 1 year, they really struggled offensively at times. But, dude, I question Matt, too, and he looks like a freaking genius. The dude just completely put Mike McCarthy in a coaching body bag yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know that that's hard to do, but yeah.
I truly think he would have put any coach. They busted out stuff that watching every game every week. They busted out stuff that you just didn't see the whole entire season. Their motions, guys are tight ends are sneaking out of the backfield. It was masterpiece is what it was.
Honestly, for Jordan Love in his first playoff start with like how we know not rookies, but like first time starters in playoffs typically struggle.
They do.
And you're on the road.
Guys just
the throws he was making yesterday. There were so many times yesterday I was watching. I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like audibly, I was just like, "Holy shit!" Some of those dimes, the Dobbs, just like, "Oh my god!"
So the first video I watched when I woke up this morning, got some notifications, and there's this Bears fan. Every once in a while, he'll turn on the Packers game and like watch it as a Bears fan. And this year's been fun to watch. He's done it in past years, but this year's been fun to watch because he's like, oh God, fucking Aaron Rodgers, blah blah. This year's been fun to watch. Like, and so yesterday he hasn't said it all year. Yesterday he was just like, they go as soon as he throws like they go up 20-0. He throws and he goes, Jesus, they got another Hall of Fame quarterback. What the fuck? He's like, how are they doing this? But I'll tell you, any team. They should just take the blueprint the Packers have had the last 30 years and just copy it. Like, get a guy, draft a guy before you need him. It's not gonna go over well with your fan base. It's not, especially if you have a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's not gonna go over well. But you sit them behind them. They learn for 2 or 3 years. They don't get thrown to the fire. And then when Aaron Rodgers came out from under Favre, you're like, okay, that's just a coincidence, right? Sure. This guy was going to be a top 5 draft pick for whatever reason he dropped to us. Nothing against Jordan Love, but he just wasn't that guy coming out of college.
Yeah.
And now you see the progression he's made by sitting under someone like that for 3 years, and then all of a sudden now he's a starter. You're like, why does every team not do this? Because now it's just a proven system. When it was Aaron Rodgers, like, oh, this is a coincidence. This guy was a top 5 talent and just dropped to us. Now it's like, okay, they're plugging Jordan Love into this. And it seemed to be working. Like, I don't understand how every team doesn't look at that and go, that's what we have to do from now on. We have to draft a guy 2 or 3 years before we probably need him. Let him sit in his rookie contract and be the backup. And then hopefully by time we need him, we'll get this guy out of here and let him start. It's just more teams probably need to adjust to that because a lot of these teams just throw these guys into the fire 4 years in. They're like, well, we don't know if we should re-sign them or not. And then, God knows what, like the Giants are a perfect example of that, right? Giants, the Bears.
The Bears going through it now, yeah.
It's sometimes you just get so discouraged. If you're right out of college, the game's moving so fast, you get so discouraged. You don't think you can be good. Well, Jordan Love never had any of those experiences go, oh, yeah, I don't think I'm good enough. Because he never played hardly ever. He took some crappy snaps. I think he played the one game during COVID year because Aaron Rodgers went to a Halloween party and got COVID.
Yeah, against the Chiefs, yeah.
But even that game they were in, and he didn't play well, but, I just don't understand. Every team just probably needs to see this and go, okay, this is no longer a coincidence. This is probably something that actually works.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of situational stuff to that, and a lot of teams, you get the rookie quarterback, the rookie deal, they try to maximize that window or whatever. But to your point, think about Bryce Young. He absolutely got thrown to the wolves on a completely shit roster for a staff that didn't really want him because apparently the owner wanted him drafted.
Yep.
And not only that, but then the guy that got taken after you is an absolute stud.
Yeah, now it just looks like...
Now he's his whole world's got to be crumbling.
Yeah.
His self-esteem and confidence has got to be an all-time low.
It's got... And it's funny, you see those guys, like a Geno Smith, right?
Yeah.
Same thing happened with him, the Jets, and then he goes to a team that cares that he's there, goes to a good coaching staff. I know Pete Carroll just got fired, but look, I'm not a big Pete Carroll guy, but it's kind of hard to go against him with his resume.
Yeah.
Coached him up, got his confidence back, and last year, did he win Comeback Player of the Year? I think he won Comeback Player of the Year last year.
I can't remember, probably.
But yeah. So it's it never surprises me when you see a guy like a Geno Smith that got thrown into the fire and got on a crappy, and maybe in a crappy organization or whatever with a crappy coaching staff, and then they go somewhere else and thrive. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on the Packers. If Jordan Love goes on the road and slays the dragon for the Packers fans of the 49ers,
it's going to exercise all these demons.
Oh my God. That's what I'm saying. This story is just writing itself.
It is.
From the Aaron Rodgers obituary to Jordan Love rising from the ashes like a phoenix to beat the Niners.
So it's funny. So Brett Favre could never beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers had no problem beating the Cowboys. He's well-known record. I think it's 7-1 or something against the Cowboys, and he's 3-0 against them in the playoffs or something like that. But he could never beat the 49ers. So if Jordan Love comes in, beats the Cowboys and the 49ers, it's just going to be, it's going to be an incredible story. I think I said it's going to be it's a movie story. This is what movies are made of.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, So
all right, there's our football Packers radio.
Yeah.
We'll swing it back to golf here. So just a little virtual golf update here. You've been beating up all the virtual golf streets here. So Swing Fit, you got a little invite from Hinkle and Jared.
Yeah, went over there on Friday. Really cool place, by the way.
Yeah.
They've got a putting green there. I can't remember. It's Perfect Putt or something. It's got different breaks. And it's really cool putting green. And they've got, I think, 8 trackmen, stalls where you can go in. We played 18 holes. We played Muirfield. I told Hinkle I'd give him a shout out. He tied me gross.
Wow. What'd you do? Pump some out of bounds or something?
I got bogeyed to death at Muirfield. Absolutely bogeyed to death. I had a couple triples. I was not hitting the ball well. I was sore. I did a really, really extensive leg workout the day before.
Yeah, tough.
And my legs, my glutes weren't firing.
Got to get the glutes activated.
I was towing everything. It was ugly. Me and Jared, it was ugly. But that place was awesome. I appreciate those guys inviting me out. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get over there and play with them. But yeah, that was the first time I'd ever been in that place, so it was pretty cool.
I will say I'm a little hesitant to actually hit a ball because, the whole touch a club every single day thing. You don't get any feedback or result from hitting the golf ball, right? That makes you feel bad. Everything just feels good right now.
True.
Just practicing the swing feels good. I don't need the feedback yet. I think I'm good.
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't need the feedback either.
Yeah.
I watched like the data that came back on the first couple swings, and they were so bad. I was like, I need to not look at that
right
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to SGN. Yeah, Saturday night. I had the kids all day by myself, and got to like 9:30. I was like, I looked at Danielle. I was like, "Hey, do you mind if you guys are going to bed?" She was going to bed. She had a long day, and I was like, "Do you mind if I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to the simulator place and hit some balls for like an hour?" So I went over there like 10 o'clock. I ended up staying for like an hour and 45 minutes.
Jeez.
Which shout out to everybody watching that video on my Instagram. It's got like 4,000 views of me just hitting a driver into the simulator. But I went over there. Yeah, I played 18 holes and then did some other stuff on there, like some closest to the pin stuff to like work on irons. And that place is cool too. It was busy when I was over there. I mean, I think they only had like one stall open at like 11:30 at night. There was people still over there. Talked to these guys like right next to me. They got there when I was getting ready to leave. I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And he's like, "Oh, once a month we come over and we play from like 11:30 to 3:30 in the morning."
Oh my God.
And he's like, "That's what we do in the winter." So I was like, "That's cool." I was like, "How many of you have kids?" They're like, "None of us." I was like, "And that's why you're doing this." Like,
yeah.
I'm ready to go to bed so I can wake up at 6:30 in the morning with my kids. Right. So yeah, 11:45 was like pushing it.
Yeah.
Pushing it.
So. I will say I do need to get in. I want to get in there and actually, like you said, practice a little bit and do like some, maybe the close to the pins, things like that. Because when you go to the range, like you can pick a target on a range and it's fine. But like having the data there and like seeing like your dispersion and like actually you can like see trends and like how you're hitting it versus just making a guess like, oh, I kind of pulled more shot or whatever. You actually have feedback to say like, oh man, I missed left a lot there. Like what, and kind of dial it up a little bit from there.
Well, and that's the cool, SGN doesn't have TrackMan. But I started working on some drivers after I played 18 holes, and you see the spin, the revolution, stuff like that, and that's all good feedback to see if it's coming off spinny, and whether your club face is closed or open. It's all good feedback to you're really like right now what I'm working on, and I meant to put this in my caption when I was showing the videos. Like my biggest thing is setup, like making sure that I'm getting the ball in the proper spot in my stance, and then being in a more athletic setup with my chin up. I tend to kind of tuck my chin.
I do too.
So getting my chin up and getting into a little bit more athletic stance just helps me with my takeaway. So that's all I'm working on right now, and getting that feedback. And I think I told you one of my goals. So I was really in there. I did. I've been doing some speed training and stuff like that, and I tried to just kill some and then smoothing it out just to see where my my ball speed and stuff is at and how accurate I can be with that ball speed, right? I got up to like 174, but it was sprayed. Yeah. So, but as soon as I backed it down to I was getting down to 168. It's like, okay, it's like that's straight. That's controllable. So it's a work in progress, but it is good to go in and see some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like to your thing with the ball speed and everything, you can feel. It's hard to without seeing the number. It's hard to know what your swing that produces 168 versus what produces 175 feels like.
And that's.
So you just you need to go measure it. Basically, is what you have to do.
And that's what I was doing. We're going to have to do an associates night over there or something and get over there. But I fully plan on trying to maybe not an every Saturday thing, but maybe a Friday night or a Saturday night here and there, just getting over there and just trying to figure out, it's like, okay, when I try to, 3/4 or 7-iron, what does that feel like? What's that ball speed? What's that distance really going to be, right? That's what I find really cool, because then you can kind of hone in when you get out on the course. You're not the first swing after working out all winter and all that, and maybe you gain 5 yards. You don't hit a 7-iron from 170 and fly the green by 7 yards or something like that. You know what I mean? So, especially with the changes going through my body, I was like, I need to make sure I know exactly what my yardages are and what that feels like. Yeah. So,
no, that's awesome. Yeah, we're going to have to get something scheduled for that for sure. All right. Well, not the greatest result for Sony Open here for our first pick of the one and done.
I think it was that plus like the people we had.
Yeah, so I wrote it down here because it was so literally
the other options we had all played better. Pretty much.
We got down to debating Corey Connors versus Siwoo Kim, and literally those were the two worst of our 6 golfers that we brought to the table.
Yeah.
Ben On finishes second in a playoff. Russell Henley T4, JT Poston T6, Chris Kirk T18. Any of those would have been better than the T42 that Siwoo Kim gave us. Didn't miss the cut, but $25K into the bank's not really going to cut it.
It's better than 0, but it might as well be 0.
Yeah, so right now in the race of the Mayo Cup, we are in 3,065th place. Obviously only one tournament, but we did dodge a little bit of bullet. Nobody picked Grayson. However, there was some Ben Ons and Keegans in there, so some people did bank like around $715K.
So not the end of the world.
No, so nobody walked away with the winner, which is helpful for us for sure. But look, I still think our process was pretty good. We just didn't end on the right pick.
Yeah. I almost think we overthought it. Is that weird? Because I will tell you this, my initial gut feeling was JT Poston.
And mine was Henley.
Yeah. See what I mean, though?
And that was T4, T6 would have been, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I think when you start talking, you're like, oh, well, we can't use this guy because of this. I think you start to run into problems. And I know Corey Connors, I know he was like one of the worst, but it's like, you know, if he would have played well, and we kind of talked about it, it's like, well, what if we would have used him down the road? And it's like, you want to save guys, but if your initial gut feeling is like, play this guy, you just got to play it. Right?
All right. Well, did you have a gut feeling guy for this week?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, and I'll tell you.
Let's jump to this.
It's Brian Harman.
Oh, Harman's in the field this week?
Yeah, I'm 99% sure. He was on there as of Saturday. Because I started doing this.
Check.
Because they came out with a list and he was on there. Now, I don't know if it's been updated.
I'm going to assume since he's not in the top, 20 on the odds board here, that he's not in the field.
Okay. Because he's had some good finishes, and then I saw he was in the field when I first checked it on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him. I don't know if he withdrew or what, but he's not listed.
Because he's had 2 top 10s in the last 3 years at this event, which included a 5th last year. Or no, a 3rd last year.
Okay, well, we can confirm that. I think he's not in, though. Because he would be...
So that article that came out probably just didn't have an updated list.
Sure, yeah.
Well, that sucks, because that was my initial gut feeling.
That's okay, because I hate Brian Harman, and I'd have to fight you for it, so...
my next one was JT Poston again. I feel like when you get into these especially the West Coast swing coming off Sony, he just seems to be a hot hand. I mean, I know he hasn't won, but he is playing some really, really steady golf. And I do know he had a decent finish last year. I know it was top 20. I don't know if it was top 5. I think it was either top 20 or top 10, somewhere in there. It wasn't, top 5, but he had a pretty good finish here last year. And then again, like I said, I just feel like he's playing really good golf.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Let's back it up real quick. This is for the American Express. And so this is a weird tournament because it's a 3-course rotation. They have a 54-hole cut instead of a 36-hole cut.
Yeah, because of the Pro-Am or whatever.
Yeah, so there's they play 3 different courses, like I said. And the stadium course, which is a Pete Dye course, they play twice if you make the cut. So a little bit of a weird thing. It's very skewed towards scores, just dudes that can score. Obviously, approach and putting, shocker. That's going to do well here. Poston, I'm pretty sure I'm with you. He's had some good finishes here, and he made it as my 3rd golfer on the list. So I don't hate it. I think you're right. This is a hot hand situation.
Yeah, and he was a T6 last year at this event.
And he was T6 this past week. Shot 61 on Sunday at Sony. He was 19th in approach and 17th in putting.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. My only thing is I have 2 guys in front of him on my list, Tom Kim and Sungjae Im. Both perennially play well here.
Yeah, they were definitely on my radar. I've looking at the past leaderboards and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and Sungjae in particular, I think he led the field in birdies at the Century, which, okay, you need birdies here, so that's good.
Yeah.
And I think he withdrew from the Sony to focus on this event as he felt like he had prepped pretty well playing the Century. So those are the 2 guys, and they're a little higher on the board. Poston is on a heater, so he's still 30-1. He's within the top 10 or so in the odds.
Yeah.
Alongside these guys who I think are around 20-1. Do you have anyone else? Did you have a third golfer on your list?
Yeah, so I went with Taylor Montgomery.
Okay. That
was
a little more off the wall, but
only because I think he's playing well. He played well at the Sony.
yeah.
He was T5 last year in this event. Again, kind of his putting worries me a little bit. There were some putts at the Sony this weekend that they showed that were, not good. Which worries me because in an event that you have to make a lot of birdies, you better be putting relatively well. Which is actually odd because he is a pretty decent putter. And he was just, I don't know what it was at the Sony, but he was just not putting well this past week. But I just like him. T5 last year. Seems like he's playing well. I mean, he played okay at the Sony. I think putting and stuff like that kind of got the best of him, but he was my third golfer.
Okay.
Definitely a little off the wall, though.
Before we decide here, I do want to mention this field does have a few more of the dudes in it than we had at the Sony.
Yeah, it's a pretty good field this year. Better than in past years. I mean, Rahm won it last year, but
yeah, but usually it's like you get like one guy like Rahm. We've got Scotty, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele. JT is making his season debut. Jason Day is here. Tony Finau is here. So you've got, Ricky Fowler is here.
Yep.
There's some depth to this one that normally isn't here. I don't think we can burn one of those guys here. Obviously, I think we're in agreement there.
Yeah.
This is still a purse that's like around that 8.3, 8.4 million.
Yeah, I think Rahm won 1.7 last year.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
I mean, obviously a winner is a winner, but I think we feel better, saving those guys
1.4.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be around that same thing.
I'm prepared to roll with JT Poston if you are.
I think
if we're going to use him, this is the time.
This is it. I mean,
hot hand situation, good history here.
So you had Sungjae, Tom
Kim.
Who was your third one?
JT Poston.
Oh yeah. So I think that's the overlap, and I
go with the overlap.
Man, he feels like he's on the cusp of winning one.
Yeah.
And really, if he has a better Saturday at the Sony, he wins. Because he played that good yesterday. I mean, look, he shot 61 yesterday. It's like,
yeah,
Saturday he struck. He got into trouble a couple times off the tee, but that course is.
You got to be on the right.
Tight,
you got to be on the right side of the hole to be able to score for sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, let's ride with the Postman. I think that's the pick.
Let's do it.
All right, JT Poston. That's the official back 9 6-pack race for the Mayo Cup one and done pick for the American Express. I will say, if you want to get provocative with your picks this week, I think just chucking a dart on JT first start had coming off an off year. Maybe you catch lightning in a bottle. I don't want to do it. I'm just saying if you want to be provocative.
I think for my individual betting purposes, I don't know. I didn't look at the odds board, but I would guess he's probably pretty long odds.
He's 22-1.
Is he really?
For JT, which is
so they're back to putting him up towards some of the favorites.
Well, it's
because last year, if you remember, we talked about it multiple times. We're like, dude, he's like 80-1. It's like you almost feel like it's a crime not to take those odds.
Yeah.
For a guy that's a 2-time major winner, still in the prime of his career. He's just having a bad year. It's like he might find it at 80-1. I'll take those.
Yeah, and he's honestly JT is one of the more of this generation, one of the more prolific winners, and a guy that does it out of nowhere sometimes too. So
yeah,
that's why we were on that. But I mean, they're doing this thing where it's kind of the three guys at the top, Scotty, Patrick, and Xander, have separated. They're all under 10-1, and then it's a jump to 20 and 30-1 from there.
Really?
So
okay.
Yeah, the books are probably taking some heavy action at the top. It seems like.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. So the last 2 weeks, the Century and the Sony were triple-digit odd winners.
Dude.
100-1 for Chris Kirk at the Century, and then Grayson was 500-1 at the beginning of the week.
I texted you guys this last night. I made so many stupid losing bets on Jay and Kevin last year, and I didn't freaking bet Grayson this week.
Yeah, so Nick was the one that bet him with me, right? We were the ones that I took him going into Sunday, and then I took him.
Nick didn't. I when the playoff happened after the tee shot went awry, they dropped him to 6-1 to win. I jumped in at 6-1.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Well, so I saw, and again, shout out PGA Tour, great content. When he hit it into the bunker on 17, he was 30-1 at that point.
Oh my God.
Makes me sad. I wish I was paying attention to that.
We just had too much going on yesterday. I couldn't.
Yeah, I was trying to watch the end of the
end.
Packers game when that was going on. Like, it was just, but yeah, back-to-back weeks, triple-digit odd winners. It's crazy. I don't know the last time that's happened or if it's ever happened 2 weeks in a row. Because usually the Century, you get a guy that's like a 40-1. You know what I mean?
The field opened up this year because they expanded it to include all the guys that made the Tour Championship. So, but yeah, it's usually a much tighter. There's never really any guys that are triple digits.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy the first 2 weeks that happens. I actually did pretty well though this week. I hit. Man, I barely missed. Barely missed on a parlay of top 20s. All the guys made the cut. So unfortunately, our boy Siwoo kept me from hitting that parlay. I had Akshay, something like that. I had Brian Harmon. I had Grayson in that parlay as a top 20, and then Siwoo. It was like $5 paid like $3.80 or something like that. It was.
And Siwoo just kept
provocative, and he kept me out of it.
Falling down the leaderboard, yeah.
So
I will say right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, Grayson is listed in the field at 110-1. Why not us?
I mean, look.
Why not us?
I'm gonna put money on him the rest of the year, just because I have to.
Yeah, I'm gonna be chasing my missed bet on this one.
I was just glad I took him going into Sunday. I felt pretty. I was like, look, I think he was 50 or he was 5-1 going into Sunday. Right behind Keegan. Keegan was like 2-1 odds to win. I was like, that's good enough payout. I put $10 on it, 160. But I hit a lot of top 20 bets this week, which kind of, definitely wasn't the biggest win I could have had because if I would have bet on him at the beginning of the week, but we'll take it.
For sure. All right. Is it time?
I think so.
Back to the patio. It's our patio beer segment. Man, this is the first episode we didn't crack a drink.
Yeah, I don't have one to crack.
Yeah, me either. I totally forgot
I got my
shout out Liquid Death. Shout out Diet Coke.
And I don't even have Diet Coke today.
I know.
I'm drinking water. I still have to go to the gym today. So
this was my my oat milk latte. Got this in your honor today.
Oh, look at that.
I know. Just emptied it.
Dunkin's one of the best.
Look, Dunkin's solid. That's, and look, I would prefer Starbucks, sure, but there's not one by my house. I can hit that. They're right there on Cincinnati Dayton Road, baby. That getting on the highways.
Perfect. Perfect location.
Yeah. All
and
right.
By the way, this is we after this we'll have two more sober. At least for me. You said you're going to go a little longer with it. Yeah. At least for me, two more sober patio beer segments.
Update on that. I see this is tough. So shout out Susie. Her birthday is early February. We're going to go. Already made reservations. I can almost assure that I'm probably going to have something that night. So might be punting the other 2 remaining months to later in the year, which is tough because honestly, February is an easy one. You're already coming in from January and it's a short month.
Yeah.
It's an easy one to click. But
yeah, it's an easy one to knock off.
I might have to get back on the horse in March. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I don't know who's going. Do you have any idea?
Let me go.
Sure.
Because I really like this question. It really brought up some bad memories for me when I was thinking about this question.
Great.
Just sad memories.
Sad day, bad day.
So okay. And I know, I have a feeling, I've got like 3 things narrowed down that you're going to probably be one of your answers.
Okay.
What is a sports moment that lives rent-free in your head?
Rent-free in my head? Oh, there's a few. So yesterday, the Bills game gets moved to today, right?
Yep.
And we're between things that we had going on yesterday and just happened to turn on the TV and it's on CBS and CBS is re-airing the AFC Championship game between the Bengals and Chiefs last year.
Okay.
And watching it back, you realize how much worse it actually was. There were so many stupid things that happened in that game.
Yeah.
Look, them getting a replay of a down for basically no reason, in which we stopped them, is just that might be top of the list.
That was that. So I didn't know it was going to be that specific moment. I didn't know it was going to be that specific moment of the replay. I mean, I remember that happening very vividly, but
I don't think that's just recent, and I just saw the replay of it
definitely
yesterday, so
bias,
that hurts a little bit. The Super Bowl, I mean the holding calls.
That was the one in particular was the one I was thinking of. Cooper Kupp, Logan Wilson.
Bad. Just
that was the one. That was
call.
first. That was the first one I thought of that I knew. Well, actually, there's a second one that I knew it could be a possibility that you would name.
Yeah, that was bad.
Because was that third down?
Third or fourth. I mean, it was the pass interference on the end zone, I think, was on fourth down. So basically, they got like a new set of downs twice in a row.
Yeah.
With the game on the line, which was egregious based on how they called the rest of the game.
Yeah.
They let him play the whole time until the last minute.
Yeah, I vividly remember a T. Higgins touchdown where he got like they were just fighting, like almost fighting on the way down the field.
So that stuff hurts. It's recent too. Look, Carson Palmer getting chemo on all offense.
Yeah, okay. That was the first one I thought
on
of.
An absolute bomb to Chris Henry, rest in peace. Like that, it was like the joy of that play hitting, and then realizing, oh wait, our quarterback is done.
Yeah, we're up 7-0,
and that was like, honestly, I think it probably changed the trajectory of the Marvin Lewis era.
It really
because
did.
That felt like. I think they were going to win that game. That team was swaggy.
Yeah, they were definitely going to win that game. I mean, like.
The Steelers,
looking ahead and going like, oh, they're going to win a Super Bowl. I've heard people say that. I've heard Bengals fans say that. Coming from a Packers fan, you know how many teams we've had in my lifetime where I'm like, they're definitely going to win the Super Bowl this year? A lot. And you know how many Super Bowls they won in my life, or at least in my fandom since I started watching football? 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they've had probably 10 teams you could have been like, there ain't no one beating this team, and then they lose. So it's tough. But I would agree. The playoff streak would have ended that day.
I think so too.
Yeah,
and then I think, did the Steelers go on to win the Super Bowl that year, or did
they went to the Super Bowl?
They might have won that.
No,
I can't remember.
What
that
year
was like
was that?
Roethlisberger's
was
first.
Was that 05?
05. Yeah, it was the 04. Well, whatever. It was one of those two. It was that 04-05 range.
We're gonna look this up because I'm pretty sure they made it to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they won it, though.
I can't remember because they lost.
Oh, no. Oh, well, no, that's the 06. So the Steelers won in 06 against the Seahawks, but that was not the year of Carson Palmer. There's no way. I remember. I thought
that was 2005, but would it have been the 06 playoffs, though? You know what I mean? Because
hold on. I'll tell you here in a second. It might have been.
I think it was.
Hold on. Let's see, bracket.
Because that had to be Roethlisberger's, first or second year.
Yeah, they beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I wouldn't claim they were going to go win the Super Bowl, but I think they would have won that game, and then potentially it'd be a whole different outlook for the franchise instead of the subsequent playoff losses.
Because they were the first 6 seed to ever. Because obviously at that time they didn't have a 7 seed.
Yeah.
It was the first 6 seed to ever go on and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the Packers, oddly enough, the Packers did it like, what was that, 4 years later and beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So
yeah. Okay, so I'll end it. There's the top 2.
So I knew that one was coming. I knew you were going to work your way to it.
The top 2 on the list for me, I was in the ballpark when Buster Posey hit the grand slam after the Reds were up 2-0 in that series coming home. Just had to win 1 of 3 at home. And this was after losing Johnny Cueto, of course, in that first playoff game with like an oblique injury or something stupid. That Reds team was so fun. They were so good. And watching that ball just sail out as they were just getting beat down was so painful. Like that was the one, that's the only one of these that I've witnessed in person, right? So it's like, that felt different.
Yeah, I was at all 3 of those home games too.
Yeah, I was just at Game 5
because I got married that year. We were in the Bahamas, and you're flush with wedding cash. We went to Atlantis Casino, and I put $100 bet on the Reds to win the World Series that year.
Oh my God!
Because I knew they were good at that point. We were there in July. Like at that point, they were 20 games over 500. It's like, okay, this team's good. I think I got them at like I want to say it was like 20-1, maybe 15-1. I put a $100 bet on it. They win the first 2 games of that series. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that was.
I'm 23 years old at this point. It's a lot of money to win on a bet. So I'm like, well, I gotta go to the next. I went to the third, game 3, game 4. Was there for game 5 watching that, and it was just like, I'm never gonna see them win the World Series anyway.
Yeah.
That's the thought that went through my head at that very moment.
I think, but what takes the cake for me, 2015, Bengals Steelers playoff game. We lose Andy Dalton, who was like at that point of the year, like he had an MVP season and then got hurt with his wrist or whatever. And so AJ McCarron's starting. We're playing the Steelers. Haven't won a playoff game since 1990 or whatever. Not in my lifetime, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember this.
We get the ball back. There's like a minute and a half left. We're running the clock out, jamming it down their throats in their end of the field. Like, I'm literally getting calls from friends. Like, people are crying. Like, I'm there watching it at a watch party, sitting there with my buddy Trevor. We're just like taking shots at Fireball. Happening. We're like, dude, we're doing it. We're finally going to see a win. And then the Jeremy Hill fumble. And then
just
Pac-Man
the utter
and
meltdown that
Vontez perfect, and Joey Porter's on the field, and all this shit. It was like the epitome of the Marvin Lewis era.
And just Cincinnati sports in general, honestly.
Just a complete undoing and just like vacating of the scene. Just shitting their pants everywhere to lose. And it was just like that bottle of Fireball went straight to the head and I was dead. Basically is what happened. That one takes the cake. Those are the top 2 on my list, bar none.
I knew that one. So the 3 that I thought, I knew obviously Carson Palmer knee. I figured the Cooper Cup holding call in the Super Bowl was going to be on there, and then I knew the Jeremy Hill fumble was definitely on there.
Yeah.
You got me with the Buster Posey home run. I was there too. It was just very sad.
Pain.
I was there. I remember Game 3 walking out of the stadium, and we were still up 2-1. And you knew the fans. It wasn't over. We were still up 2-1. We just got to win one of the next 2. But walking out of that stadium, we blew Game 3.
Yeah.
Scott Rowland, Hall of Fame third baseman, bobbles a ball.
Ugh.
And walking out of the stadium, we're like, guys, part of me is like, guys, we're still up 2-1. Like, everybody just chill out. Then as I'm like walking to my car, I'm like, fuck, I'm starting to get that feeling too. I'm like, God, oh my God, we're going to lose this series. And the next thing, so I'm like, now I got to go back to the next games. I got a bet on the line. Yeah, that was a brutal. That Buster Posey Grand Slam was like, if there was anything that was just a stake in the heart, and think about it, that was the last time. The Reds are starting to get better now, but that was the last time they were good.
Yeah, well, honorable mention, the next year was the
Cueto
in
drop.
Pittsburgh, the Cueto chants, dude. They're still haunt me to this day. He drops the ball on the mound as they're chanting his name like that.
Just brutal. But that home run was the stake through the heart of the Reds.
Yeah.
They haven't been nearly even remotely close to that good again. I mean, man, that team had an outside shot at them. They almost won 100 games that year. I think they won 96 or 97 games. That team was incredible.
Yeah.
It's just guys that just that breaks my heart. That's on my list. That series in general. Maybe not necessarily that moment, but like just the Game 3, that bobble, that Scott Rowland bobble was on my list. It's top 3 on the list. Yeah. Just because he was such a good field. Dude's won like 5 Gold Gloves. Of all the people that you would think that would happen to, you definitely didn't think it was going to be Scott Rowland. No. Oh my God. I mean, this was at the end of his career and he was older, but still, he had like 1 error the entire year.
Yeah.
Before that play. 1 in 162 games.
I honestly forgot.
I think he played like 112 games that year. He had 1 error until that moment. It's just brutal. Just fucking brutal.
God.
So that's on my list. That was one that was on my list. Just that whole entire series.
Yeah.
Of the highs of just dominating them in San Francisco, and then you're like, we got 3 games back here. This thing's fucking over. And then they go on to win the World Series that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's on my list. You want me to do mine now?
Yeah, go for it.
Number one, probably recency bias. 2 years ago.
The block punt.
I
knew it.
Because all year, they hadn't given up a block punt. But I follow enough Packers media and guys that break down game film. All year, they were like, this is, a block field goal or a block punt is going to come back to haunt us at some point. It's going to happen. And we went all season, never happened. You start to think like these guys are nuts, right? Block punt, runs it back. They were leading the entire game. It was a low-scoring game. Good defenses on both sides. And block punt, they go down. Subsequent meltdown, just like, what we talked about with the bank. Just an absolute meltdown. I think Rodgers throws a pick. Game over. Number one seed, losing the first home game. Just absolute. I just remember sitting there just completely numb. Just like not even know. I think they were up like 13-3, and just went numb. Like I was like, how does this even happen? That was again recency bias. The next one, as a Kentucky basketball fan, the goaltend that they did, or the shot clock violation that they did not call on Wisconsin in that Final Four game.
Oh man,
Kentucky was undefeated. They were playing Wisconsin the second year in a row. Wisconsin was looking for some payback. Kentucky the year before was, they were the 8th seed. They make it all the way to the Final Four. They beat this incredible Wisconsin team. Wisconsin brings everybody back the next year. Kentucky brings almost everybody back from the year before and add on. That team was just absolutely loaded. 35-0. Kentucky struggled all game. But you don't get the 35-0. They didn't blow everybody out, but they, in close games, last 5 minutes, they always just found a way. They finally get a stop. They're up 2. They finally get a stop. Wisconsin comes, they go down. Kentucky goes down, gets up 2. Wisconsin comes down. They're, stall ball, Big Ten basket. They're waiting for the perfect shot, right? Guy puts it up, doesn't hit rim. They run out of shot clock, doesn't hit rim. Wisconsin guy, and I cannot remember this guy's name. You think I would remember, but I remember it vividly, like the actual play happening. Grabs the ball, comes down with it, puts it back up. Shot clock is, the horn's going off, everything. Puts it back in. They tie the game. Kentucky comes down, misses a shot, and then they end up coming down, scoring again. And it was like with less than a minute left. And it's just, and they didn't even review it. That's the craziest thing. Now it's like everything that's not that long ago. It's not like it was before replay, right? They didn't even review it. The ball was like in his hands for like almost a whole second as the shot clock's going off. And he puts it back up and makes it. It's like, what the fuck? No review, no nothing, 35-1. That team just, now that they're all in the NBA, you're just like, how the fuck did someone even come within 40 points of that team? Devin Booker was the 7 guy off the bench, and he's like one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
That lives rent free in my head.
Yeah,
100%.
I think I was in Nashville for that game. We were at a sports bar in Nashville watching the end of that, and just people going back because it was like half Kentucky and half Wisconsin fans somehow, and it was just like crazy the swings at the end of that game.
It was an what sucks is it was an incredible game.
Yeah,
that gets overshadowed by a stupid call, right? If they call it and Wisconsin ends up finding a way to win, great. But it was such a momentum. It was like Kentucky finally gotten a couple stops in a row, which they hadn't been able to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they got to stop, but it's like, oh, it's a shot clock, under a minute left, no review, and then they end up losing. It was just that. And just the fact that, I'm so sick of Indiana fans like, we have the last undefeated team. It's like, yeah, when milkmen were, getting Division I scholarships as basketball players at most places. Let's chill the fuck out for a second. It was in the 70s. College basketball is a completely different animal.
Yeah,
I truly believe after that team didn't do it, I don't think it's possible. I physically don't think it's possible.
You'd have to
anymore.
get one of these like like one of these Gonzaga super teams and they just do it somehow. But
if
you're like in an actual, no offense to the WAC or whatever, but if you're in an actual like big Power 5 conference, you're not gonna, there's no chance.
Just because, when Kentucky did it, SEC basketball they were starting to get better, but now it's like SEC basketball is pretty good. They've got some good coaches, and you're like, dude, you go on the road, especially as a team like a Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, night in, night out, you're going to get their best shot.
Yeah.
Like, I said that on Saturday watching the Kentucky game. I'm like, Texas A&M was like 330th in the country in three-point shooting. They made 15 threes in that game.
Right.
Again, that's why I just don't think it's going to be possible unless you are a Gonzaga where you get in the WAC and you're playing Pepperdine on a Tuesday night on the road, like
right
in a 1,000-person gym. Like, it's just not the same, right? So that one lives in my head. Going deeper, one more, and I don't know if anybody's ever. I had Buster Posey on there, or not the Reds series there, but Kentucky had another team in 2003. They were just rolling people. Their best shooting guard, Keith Bogans, rolls his ankle in the Sweet 16. He's out. Subsequently, just get Dwayne Waded in the Elite Eight.
Oh.
Dwayne Wade went off for like 45 points and 15 rebounds. But Keith was an NBA player in his own right, and it's just like, okay, if he's in, and he's guarding him, if he scores only 25, Kentucky probably wins that game. But he rolled his ankle in the Sweet 16 against Maryland. They go on to the Elite Eight, and just Dwayne Wade just goes fucking off. I've got the Dwayne Wade windmill dunk, at the end of that game, just burned into my memory forever. But that was another team that was just so freaking good. It was just one, it's a luck. Again, college basketball, it's like one guy goes out and, UC fans know that, right? It's like one guy goes out. It doesn't matter what the rest of the roster looks like. It can change the whole projection. So that was another one that kind of the Dwayne Wade windmill dunk at the end of that game that lives rent free in my head.
Marquette and early career prime D Wade was so sick.
So sick. Dude.
He was so nasty.
I have a little more appreciation for what he did in that game now that he's played in the NBA. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. But it's just you're watching this game, you're like, who the fuck is this guy from Marquette dropping, hitting fadeaways, windmill dunking on fucking people? It was just incredible to watch in time. Man. And then he goes on the NBA and you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense now. But at the time, Marquette, I don't even know what division, I don't even know what conference they're there. I think they were Conference USA probably at that point.
Yeah.
So almost borderline mid-major probably. And they've got this guy just dropping 45 on Kentucky, just incredible.
Amazing.
But that windmill at the end of the game, and they ended up winning by 15 or something like that. But that windmill, I remember watching it as a 12-year-old at this point. Just absolute rent-free. Cried my eyes out. Keith Bogans is one of my favorite Kentucky players of all time. And I'm just like, oh, Keith would have played. It's my dad's like, well, they still lost by 15. So,
yeah.
But, no, that was the last. I couldn't think of any more.
There are more. I know there are, but I wrote down too while you were talking, just sort of from my own personal, these affected me or I was a part of them. And I've mentioned both of these on the pod before, but one, the Black Cat game with the Giants and the Cowboys, they cost me $1,000 after the Black Cat came on the field. And then Daniel Jones, I just need the game to end. And he throws he gets a strip sack fumble return touchdown for the Cowboys. They cost me $1,000. That hurt. And then the other one, the third hole of the Stampede in 2021, I hit 8-iron instead of 7-iron because I was afraid to fly it because it was a back pin. Came up short. We get knocked out of the Stampede. All I needed was a par to get into the chip off, and just didn't get up and down. So that 7-iron haunts me. Not hitting 7-iron haunts me, I should say. So,
I guess if I have personal ones, look, love Keith, love guy that was his partner that year in the Stampede. Super nice guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'll think of it eventually. We go into the last match. We're we could even probably lose this match 4 or 5 and probably still get in. We had a pretty big lead. We lose 4 or 5. Come in, we're like, you know what? We're doing the math. It's like, they like the team behind us, they've got to win their match like 7.5, 1.5 to beat us.
Yeah.
Because we had the tie against them because we won the head-to-head. We came in and they won their match 7.5, 1.5, and it was like
unreal.
That, and then them celebrating in front of us, that lives rent-free in my head.
Yeah.
Absolute rent-free. And honestly, last year, going into that final match, I was like, this is not fucking happening again. And we played really good. It was like we pedal to the metal, no going into a match and saying, well, as long as we don't lose more than 4 to 5.
Yeah.
It was like never again. Never again. But that, watching them celebrate, and I was just like, fuck me, dude. That was like a low of low feelings. Just going like, and I'd missed like a 2-footer in their first match on Sunday. That cost us a half shot. Mm. And it's like, you start going back and you're like, holy shit, a half a stroke. And it's like, then they do, and they did that to be just, and we smoked them in our individual, like in our match against them, that team, we just killed them.
Yeah.
And it was that lives rent free in my head for sure. Oh God, just brutal. I don't know if there's any, I'm sure there's a betting one. I can't think of any, but there's some good ones out there. I'd be curious to see like other fans or like fans of other teams, what theirs are, right?
Oh yeah, there's got
like Boston Red Sox fan probably they've got like a list of 30. Just
Cubs fans before
Cubs fans.
That's another one.
The guy that was leaned over and grabbed the foul ball in the World
Steve
Series.
Bartman. You got that was an NLCS.
Or NLCS, sorry. But, yeah. Yeah, they were playing the Marlins.
The Bills, think about all the stuff that's happened to them. There's
like Super Bowl field goals.
Yeah, just stuff like that. That's got to be,
Ugh, brutal. You always think of that when you get sad as a fan for like whatever team you like. The best practice, what I've found, is you start thinking about other teams. You're like, man, okay, this is bad, but is it worse? Is it worse than this? Right? Start putting things into perspective a little bit.
Yeah, the Raiders get the tuck rule invented on them.
That game.
Stuff like that, that's just...
that kick-started the Tom Brady era.
Yeah, truly.
They went on to win their first Super Bowl.
They let Tom Brady happen.
Fucking Charles Woodson.
Yeah. It's Michigan on Michigan crime. All right. So we must have had sports on our brains here because I also have a sports-related question. So we're starting to enter... NFL playoffs are going on. We've got college basketball rolling, NBA, whatever. But we're about to enter what I refer to as the sports dead zone. It's pre-baseball. Football's over. All we really have is this, kind of...
regular season college basketball.
Regular season college basketball, and then, like, meaningless NBA winter doldrums where people are getting blown out by, like, 50 points all of a sudden. So I was just thinking, if you had to pick just one sport to watch... Like you could only watch one single sport the rest of your life, what would it be? And I'm not saying you can't pick basketball as a category. You got to pick college basketball.
That's good. I think I'm going to give my reasons behind this. Because of when it happens, because of the length of the season, and because of the end of the season, of how much I just love the end of the season, it has to be college basketball.
I knew you were going to pick that.
It just has to, because there's just no way in my right mind that I'm giving up March Madness. Like that is, for those that don't know me, that is like that's my holiday. Yeah. Like I live for March Madness. I'm in like 150 pools. I do a team draft thing. It is my
right. March Madness is your season.
It is my thing.
That's your season.
Nick tried to he tried to don't come at me with college basketball because not only do I know the guys on Kentucky, but I know the guys on other teams too. And if you're going to come out and say this guy's ass, I'm like, but okay, why are you saying that? Because here are his stats.
Yeah.
Like, have you even watched him play other than this one game, right? College basketball is my thing, and because it does truly get me through the winter. To me, because I will watch other conferences. You go on Monday night, it's like you got some ACC basketball. Tuesday, Wednesday, Kentucky usually falls on one of those days. Kind of gets me to the middle of the week. And, you got like Thursday, Friday, Big Ten starts playing games. They started playing games on Thursday and Friday to kind of get off schedule with the other conferences. And then Saturday's chock full of games. Sunday, there's usually a handful of games. It just gets me through the winter. But if I had to choose one sport, only because in the summer and the spring and in the fall, like I want to play golf. Like I love college football. I love NFL. But because those are more active times, I feel like I wouldn't take advantage of it enough. Like college basketball, like right now, there's really just nothing else to watch. So and then you're really not doing anything else. That's why I would choose it.
I think
if you got rid of that, like the winter would be. You want to talk about winter blues? Yeah. I'd be in deep, 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 deep winter blues territory.
Yeah, I totally get your answer there for sure. My problem is I'm an addict. I'm a sick man. And it would be NFL football. Like
you do
the National Football League. I will watch Patriots Panthers on Thursday night.
That's sick.
Truly I'm a troubled person. But like I can't get enough of it. It's a lot of times in the fall, like the schedule revolves around what's going on in football. We try to like avoid doing stuff on Sundays so we can just watch Red Zone all day.
Yeah, look, I got the NFL ticket. Like I love the NFL.
Yeah, it's a ritual, and I think it's probably the most well, not the most tilting. I think college basketball is the most tilting thing to bet on, for the record.
That's why I love it.
But the NFL, I think, is like the most fun. Fantasy is such a big part of my life too, like fantasy football. Even though I can't win, I don't know. I would have to take that. I for a second, very, very briefly, considered golf because it goes on for so long and the majors are so good.
Yeah.
But
the TV coverage
watching it sucks.
Yeah. That would be like, for instance, like college basketball for me, that would be like, hey, Kentucky plays Arkansas on Tuesday, but you only get to watch the second half.
Yeah. Oh, here's 2 minutes to go in the tie game. Here's your playing through. Playing through.
Hey, let's put it to the side real quick. We're gonna run some commercials. Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a big possession happening.
Yeah.
And they're down 2. Oh yeah, but you're gonna have to watch it on a 7-inch screen to the left of a commercial.
Yeah.
Like just brutal. Because a lot of times the golf doesn't come on. They're 8 holes in.
Right.
You're watching like pretty much the back 9, maybe like a couple holes on the front, and then it's on the so. It'd be like an NFL game, like, hey, we know the Bengals are playing in the playoffs today. You don't get to watch until 3 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah. Just imagine.
It's just incredible. But I did think about golf for a second just because of the length of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, we talked about it too. Like, you and I just enjoy playing more than anything else in golf. So it's, I hadn't taken or thought about the angle that you did with college basketball where, like, really, it's replacing your golf season. Or, like, it's filling the gap in your golf season, right?
Yep.
Like, you're golfing from March until, October, November. College basketball is November to March, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, that's from, like, just a general what's going on in your life perspective, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I guess, because I was thinking college football, but I'll watch a lot of college football games. Actions on Tuesday nights, like that's always fun. Wednesday too, but like I was sitting here thinking, okay, which one am I a sicko? Like you were talking about, right? Like you'll watch Panthers Bears on Thursday Night Football.
Oh.
Like you wouldn't catch me dead watching that.
Put it in my veins.
No, but like here's my sicko moment. Like you remember last year with Oral Roberts. I purchased a $5 subscription so I could watch their games. Like, you want to talk about sick?
Look, I'm not opposed to the the ESPN Plus 4 box with
dude. It wasn't even on ESPN Plus.
Teams I've never even heard.
I had to buy a subscription to some
like the conference like live
streaming
stream thing. Yeah,
to watch their games because I was so fixated on Oral Roberts last year. They had some pretty. I mean, one of their guys transferred to Texas. He's their starting guard this year.
I don't want to talk about that guy.
Yeah, that's a little soon for that because he hit the game-winning shot against UC. But I was like, dude, I got to watch these dudes. They played on Thursday nights, their conference games, Thursdays and Saturday and Sundays. So I was like, I've watched so many of their games. Almost bought a shirt. I did buy them in my NCAA March Madness auction didn't turn out very well. I thought they actually had a pretty good matchup if they would have won their first game, but that's the most sicko thing I've ever done. And I don't know if I'd have done that for college football, but I would do it for college basketball.
Yeah.
Especially if I find that one team that I'm like, okay, I'm going to have an upper hand. They can win some games,
them,
right?
Yeah.
But I love like CBS Network, like CBS Sports Network.
Yep.
Dude, Saturday night, 8 o'clock, they usually have a MAC game on. Toledo, like put Toledo, Akron, Kent State, Ball State into my veins. Like MACtion basketball is awesome too. So I'm a sicko when it comes to college basketball. So I understand your NFL thing. I wouldn't do that for the NFL, which is why I didn't choose it. So
yeah. Hey, you want that team for this year for you? Give a little look to High Point.
Already on the list.
Yeah. 14-4 this year. You know, they're battling out with Winthrop and UNC Asheville and stuff. They're looking pretty good.
Yeah,
well, I had them in a couple parlays that have worked
just
out.
So you guys know, I do like High Point. They're one of the teams that I've kind of had my eye on. UNC Wilmington.
Dude, these UNC schools.
UNC Wilmington, you know, they played a lot of close games. Some bigger names. Like when I'm saying like close games, they're going on the road. They beat Kentucky at Kentucky. After that game, they went on an 8-game win streak. They just lost their first game this weekend, actually. Or this past week. They went on like an 8-game win streak after beating Kentucky. They're for real, man. They've got some guards. That's the biggest thing about March Madness, right?
Guards, baby.
Is guards. They got a couple scores, and you know if those guys get hot. But High Point. I feel that High Point. Yeah,
Go Panthers.
yeah. I don't even remember what Wilmington is. I want to say they're like the Seagulls or something.
I have no idea. But I just to close this conversation up, there a day that rivals, you know, Master Sunday, Christmas, you know, all the big holidays of the year. Week 1 NFL, when Scott Hansen says 7 hours of commercial-free football is starting now.
It is pretty good.
There's nothing better than that exact moment.
Good.
So
they're the Seahawks, by the way.
Seahawks got it. All right. I think that'll do it here for episode 39. Again, massive shout out to Jay. A huge win. I still, it's almost unbelievable still. We've already been talking with him. We're going to find some time here to get him on the pod so you guys can, you know, get a little inside scoop from
relive the moment. Kind of thing.
From the week that was their win at the Sony Open. I didn't mention this at the top, but you know, go ahead, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Helps us out. Follow us on social media at Back96Back, Instagram, X, not Twitter, X. And yeah, we still, of course, still have hats for sale. You guys are looking to stock up, let us know. We'll get some more things cooking here. Get the website live. We'll
we got
business.
On top of Jay, we've got another guest lined up that we're going to have on. Pretty excited about.
No spoilers. Good tease there. I like that. Yeah, that one. Another one. Hey, let's just say that Jay may not be the only caddy on the Back 96Back Airways.
Nope. We've got another one coming on soon.
So, all right. We'll see you next time, guys. Cheers.
See ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back 96Pack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back 96Pack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.